She was the general's secretary, the woman who brought coffee, scheduled meetings, answered phones, until that night when the command was attacked, because no one knew who Victoria Kane really was. At 9:30 p.m., Pentagon's E corridor was silent. Victoria Kane, 34 years old, medium height, with blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun and striking green eyes, was organizing the final files in General Samuel Harrison's office. She had been working here for 3 years and was a perfect secretary. Victoria's desk was always organized, pens in straight rows, files categorized, appointment book meticulously written. She was never late, never made mistakes. She knew how the general liked his coffee, which files were needed for which meetings in advance. She arrived at 7:30 a.m. every morning, left at 6:30 p.m. every evening. She ate lunch alone in the cafeteria, didn't chat much with anyone. Polite but distant. The perfect secretary, the invisible person. General Harrison trusted her, but only for secretarial work. Other officers barely noticed her either. Colonel Ryan Mitchell, Major Thomas Cooper, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Campbell, they all knew her only as the general's secretary. "Victoria, there's a Joint Chiefs meeting tomorrow morning," General Harrison had said that morning. "Prepare the files." "Of course, General. What time?" 800, and print out the Syria operation reports, too. Victoria had nodded. "I'll handle it right away." This was routine conversation. It had been going on like this for 3 years. Victoria would quietly do her job, and everyone would ignore her. But there were things in Victoria's past that no one knew about. She had worked for the CIA for 15 years, taking on the most dangerous missions worldwide. Victoria Kane, codename Phoenix, was one of the agency's most successful operatives. 5 months of covert operations in Moscow, 2 years of deep cover duty in Baghdad, 6 months of technical intelligence gathering in China. Victoria's resume was filled with secrets. But 3 years ago, everything had changed. During her last mission, she had lost her entire team. Victoria was the only survivor. From that day on, she had refused field work and requested desk duty. The CIA had given her a special assignment at the Pentagon: protect General Harrison. Secretly, quietly, in a way no one would notice. That evening, late at night, only security guards and a few employees remained at the Pentagon. Victoria was in General Harrison's office, reviewing files one last time for the next day's meeting. Among the folders were the latest NATO reports, Middle East intelligence summaries, and military budget analyses. Victoria carefully examined each page, marking important points that might catch General Harrison's attention. Silence was gradually settling over the corridor. The night shift security guard, Sergeant Kevin Wright, had made his routine patrol. The cleaning crew had finished their work and left the building for the night. Victoria was working on tomorrow morning's meeting agenda while drinking coffee from her thermos. The phone on General Harrison's desk was silent. Only the tick-tock of the wall clock could be heard. At 10:10 p.m., Victoria paused when she noticed an abnormality on the monitor showing security cameras in the corridor. It should have been a guard, but the movement pattern was different from normal. At 10:15 p.m., the lights went out. Victoria looked up. The generator system should have kicked in within a few seconds. Pentagon's security system was designed accordingly. But it didn't. She heard light footsteps in the corridor. She recognized these sounds, the footsteps of people with military training, moving professionally. Victoria's body language changed instantly. Reflexes trained over years kicked in. Her shoulders tensed, ears perked up, muscles tightened. But from the outside, she still looked like just a frightened secretary. The footsteps were approaching. Victoria listened carefully. 6 people, mostly men, 1 woman. They were moving professionally, Silent, coordinated, trained. From the sound of their shoes, she could tell they were wearing tactical boots. Victoria moved quickly but silently. Under her desk was a hidden compartment that others didn't know about. It had been specially made by CIA technicians 3 years ago. What she pulled out was a Glock 19. It had a professional suppressor on it. At the same time, she took out the small device inside her necklace. GPS tracker and emergency transmitter. But she didn't use it yet. She needed to fully assess the situation first. She took position by the door. She had turned off the lights, allowing her eyes to adjust to the darkness. Victoria's night vision ability was much better than normal thanks to years of training. The door slowly opened. The first attacker entered, dressed in black, armed professional. He was wearing night vision goggles. When he saw Victoria, he hesitated. Delta 1 to control. Office secured. Civilian present. Female, non-threat. He whispered into his earpiece in English. Victoria stood up as if frightened, her hands trembling. "But please, I'm just an employee. I thought no one was here." The attacker approached. He pointed his weapon at Victoria. "Stay quiet and get on the ground. Cooperate if you don't want to get hurt." Victoria nodded tremblingly. "Oh, of course. Whatever you want, I'm just a secretary." When the man got completely close, Victoria's 15 years of CIA training kicked in. In 1 second, she grabbed the attacker's weapon and knocked him unconscious with a strike to his throat, without making any sound. When the second attacker entered, Victoria was ready. 2 seconds later, he was also on the ground, unconscious. The third one noticed the situation. "Delta 3 to control. Delta 1 and 2 are down. Repeat, we have a problem." But it was too late. Victoria was no longer acting like a secretary. The next 10 minutes revealed Victoria Kane's true identity. Her way of moving, weapon use, tactical intelligence, none of it belonged to a secretary. The third attacker looked experienced. He tried to fire at Victoria, but Victoria had already moved. Taking cover behind the desk, she prevented the attacker's bullets from penetrating the desk. "Control to Delta 3, situation report," came a voice from the radio. "Civilian non-threat is not. Repeat, we have a hostile." Victoria changed position. She knew every corner, every hiding place in the office. That was the advantage of working here for 3 years. The fourth and fifth attackers also entered the room. Victoria was now alone against 3. "Surrender now!" shouted one of the attackers. "You're outnumbered." Victoria didn't answer. Instead, she activated the fire alarm system in the office. The sprinkler system kicked in, reducing visibility. In this confusion, Victoria used her positional advantage. She neutralized the attackers one by one. Her movement style, fighting techniques, weapon use, everything was the product of years of special training. The sixth and final attacker must have been the team leader, more careful, more trained, more dangerous. "Who are you?" the attacker asked in English. "You can't be a civilian secretary." Victoria replied from the shadows. "You're right. I'm not." "CIA? FBI? NSA? That doesn't matter. What matters is that you won't leave here alive." The final confrontation lasted 5 minutes. Both were professionals. Both were trained. But Victoria had the home advantage, and besides, she had something to protect: General Harrison's life and Pentagon security. Victoria activated her emergency transmitter. "Phoenix to Watchdog. Code Black neutralized. 6 hostiles down. Request immediate cleanup and medical." "Phoenix, is that you? We thought you were deep cover." "I am. Send backup now." 5 minutes later, security teams arrived. General Harrison was at the head. Beside him were FBI agent Robert Hayes and Pentagon Security Chief Colonel Patricia Wong. The expression on General Harrison's face was a mix of shock, confusion, and slowly dawning understanding. "Victoria?" he asked, looking around. 6 armed attackers were lying on the ground, 3 unconscious, 3 handcuffed. Did you do this?" Victoria stood up, allowing her blonde hair to fall to her shoulders as she removed the clips from her hair. Her green eyes were no longer Secretary Victoria's, but Operator Phoenix's. "Yes, General. How?" Victoria hesitated. There was no point in secrecy anymore. "Because I'm Victoria Kane from the CIA Special Operations Unit. My code name is Phoenix." Silence. Colonel Wong stepped forward. "CIA? Weren't you our secretary?" "Both. My cover mission was to protect you here." General Harrison was trying to understand. "For 3 years. You've been working here for 3 years." "Yes, to protect you." "Protect me?" Victoria nodded. "General, you're a member of the Joint Chiefs. You have access to the most critical military information. Intelligence had detected that an assassination attempt was being planned against this command. I was placed here." Agent Hayes asked, "Who are these people?" Victoria searched the pocket of one of the wounded attackers. She pulled out professional equipment, fake IDs, encrypted phones, military gear. Russia-backed special contractor group. Their aim was to kidnap General Harrison and gain access to nuclear attack plans. General Harrison looked around. You protected me all this time." "Yes, General. But why didn't you ever tell me?" Victoria smiled. "Because the best protection is the one that isn't noticed. If you had known my identity, your behavior would have changed, and the enemies would have noticed that too." Agent Hayes was taking notes. "Phoenix, we need to learn the details of this operation." "Of course, but first, we need to update General Harrison's security protocols. This attack was just the beginning." The next day, there were major changes at the Pentagon. Victoria Kane's true identity was known only by the highest-level officials, but everyone understood that she was no longer an ordinary secretary. General Harrison called her to his office. "Victoria, I apologize." "For what, General?" "For never noticing you, for seeing you only as a secretary, for not understanding what dangerous work you did, how you risked your life." Victoria nodded. "General, this is how it had to be. If you had seen me as a CIA agent, the enemies would have seen me too. My job was to be invisible." "So, what happens now?" "Now, my identity has been exposed. A new cover identity is needed." General Harrison looked sad. "I'll miss you. You were the best secretary." Victoria smiled. "And your best protection officer?" Colonel Wong asked curiously. "Victoria, how long did you work at the CIA?" 15 years. Moscow, Baghdad, Hong Kong, Berlin, all around the world." "What was your most dangerous mission?" Victoria thought. "This one. Hiding my identity for 3 years, never raising suspicion, and at the same time being constantly alert. In field operations, there's adrenaline, there's action. Here you just wait, and wait. And when you're really needed one day, you have to be ready." Major Cooper approached. "Victoria, did you ever get married? Do you have a family?" Victoria's face darkened a bit. "Cooper, this job doesn't allow for family life. You live with a different identity every day. It becomes difficult to even remember your real identity." General Harrison said the final word. "Victoria, you didn't just save my life. You also taught us how security should be provided. How, General? The best security is the invisible one. A few days later, Victoria's farewell party was held. It was a small, quiet gathering. Only personnel with security clearance attended. Colonel Mitchell approached her. Victoria, for 3 years, we had one of the world's most dangerous agents among us, and none of us noticed. That's a good thing, Colonel. It means the job was done right. Major Cooper added, but didn't you ever get bored? I mean, from CIA operations director to secretarial work, Victoria thought. Cooper, sometimes the most important mission is the one that looks most ordinary. I saved General Harrison's life here. No operation I did in the field was as important as this, Lieutenant Colonel Campbell asked curiously. So, how did you endure it? 3 years of the same routine, same identity. Campbell, this is the hardest part of this profession. Not losing your identity. I'm Victoria Kane, but for 3 years I had to be Secretary Victoria. Sometimes you forget your real identity. As Victoria was leaving the Pentagon, she was training the new secretary replacing her, Linda Martinez. Linda, General Harrison drinks his coffee without sugar. Meetings usually end early. He likes taking notes during phone calls. Linda was listening carefully. And Linda, always observe your surroundings. If you notice anything unusual, immediately notify security. Even very small details can be important. Of course, Victoria, but why are you so detail-oriented? Victoria smiled. Because this building's security is very critical. The decisions made here affect the lives of millions of people. As she was leaving, General Harrison gave her a sealed envelope. Victoria, this is your new assignment. Victoria opened the envelope. Inside was a new identity and mission order. You'll work at the White House as the President's new special advisor. Victoria looked up. General, with an open identity, number cover mission again. This time you'll be closer to the President. Victoria smiled. Understood, General, because sometimes the person who saves the world is the one no one notices. 2 years later, a small news item appeared in the Washington Post. Security breach prevented at Pentagon. Details classified for national security reasons. Victoria smiled when she read that news. Now she was working at the White House as Maria Santos, President Andrew Thompson's special advisor. And again, no one knew who she really was. While briefing President Thompson in the Oval Office, she thought, this is the beauty of this job. No one knows your real identity, but you're in the most important places. The President trusted her. Maria, you're very calm and reliable. These are rare qualities in this business. Victoria smiled. Thank you, Mr. President. I try not to let your trust down. And she was right, because Victoria Kane was always there, invisible, but always ready. With her blonde hair and green eyes, she might look striking, but no one noticed her real potential. One day, President Thompson asked curiously, Maria, did you ever think about getting married? You always seem alone. Victoria looked out the window. Mr. President, there are some people whose duty is more important than their own lives. That's a very heavy burden, but a necessary burden. That night at home, Victoria looked at herself in the mirror. Her blonde hair, green eyes, her 36-year-old face. No one could guess that this woman had saved the world several times, had been hiding her identity for 15 years, had conducted the most dangerous operations. Her phone rang. The caller was her former supervisor at Langley, David Reynolds. Phoenix, how are you finding your new assignment? Challenging, David, but necessary. Are there new threats at the White House? There always are, but under control. Victoria, you were the best at this job. You still are. Victoria smiled. "Thanks, David, but I'm just doing my duty." After hanging up, Victoria looked at a photo she took out of a small box. It read, CIA Langley, 2010. In the photo were young Victoria and her deceased teammates. "For you," she whispered. "For all of you." Then she put the photo back and began preparing for tomorrow. Because Victoria Kane's work never ended. Because the safest place is where no one pays attention. And the safest person is the one no one suspects. And Victoria Kane was the world's safest secret. 10 years later, a graduation ceremony for new agents was being held at CIA Langley headquarters. A young female agent asked her instructor, "What type of mission is the hardest?" The instructor smiled. "The hardest mission is the one where no one sees you." "What do you mean?" "We once had an agent codenamed Phoenix, Victoria Kane. She worked for years in the most important places, the Pentagon, the White House. No one knew who she was." The young agent listened curiously. "Where is she now?" The instructor looked out the window. In the building across, a woman in a janitor's uniform with blonde hair was cleaning windows. Her green eyes briefly met the CIA logo, and she smiled slightly. "Who knows?" said the instructor. "Maybe she's among us right now. Maybe she's preventing the next crisis, or maybe she's just cleaning windows." The young agent turned her head. "So, is she still active? People like Victoria Kane never retire, they just change identities." At that moment, the janitor woman's special phone in her pocket vibrated silently. The screen read, POTUSURGENT. Victoria looked at the phone and smiled. The instructor continued, "In every ordinary person you see, a phoenix might be hiding. That's the beauty of this job." And Victoria Kane, while collecting her cleaning supplies, was preparing to save the world once again. Because some heroes never take the stage. They just stand backstage. Because the greatest power is when no one notices your power.